Aaron Rodgers is trending toward a return. Coach Mike Tomlin told reporters he has great optimism. Rodgers will be ready to start when the Steelers host the Buffalo Bills next Sunday. A striking update after Rodgers sat out in Chicago with a fractured left wrist. This is Rodgers' first extended injury test since arriving in Pittsburgh, and Tomlin's tone was deliberately cautious but upbeat. The expectation is that Rodgers will be available, even if he'll be managed in practice early in the week. Reuters. That matters for two reasons. One, Rodgers isn't just a veteran presence, he's the engine of this offense. Through 10 games in a new city, he's thrown for 1,969 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, numbers that have masked the bumps of integrating into a new scheme and a new supporting cast. Two, the timing couldn't be tougher. The Steelers draw Josh Allen and the Bills, an opponent whose identity is built on explosive plays and field-flipping capability. Having Rodgers in the lineup moves the needle from survive to compete. Reuters. Last week, the Steelers rolled with Mason Rudolph against the Bears. Rudolph acquitted himself well, 24 of 31 passing for 171 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and the offense rallied late before ultimately falling 31-28. That outing gives Pittsburgh some short-term depth confidence. Rudolph can manage games and engineer late drives, but the stylistic difference between Rudolph and Rodgers is real. Rudolph is a structure-first quarterback. Rodgers is a playmaker who stretches defenses and extends plays. Expect the playbook to look different depending on which man is under center. ESPN.com. If Rodgers is active, don't expect reckless heroics. The medical staff and coaches will balance his competitiveness against risk management, especially for a 41-year-old veteran with a fractured wrist. Look for design choices that limit his exposure. Boots and rollouts that let him avoid heavy crowds, quick-release passing concepts that reduce pressure on the wrist, and packaged plays that create easy reads. In short, his presence raises ceiling, but the Steelers will be smart about how they ride it. ESPN.com. If Rodgers can't go, the blueprint is simple and less glamorous. Run more, protect the passer, and coast on structure. Expect more Max Pro looks, short passing concepts, screens, and a heavier reliance on the run game to control clock and limit turnover risk. Rudolph proved he can manage under center. The coaching staff will tailor play calls to those strengths and try to keep the Bills off balance with tempo and situational football. That's a conservative path, but it's a workable one. ESPN.com. The stakes are high. Pittsburgh is 6-5 and still very much in the AFC North conversation, but every game now has playoff implications. The Bills game, Sunday, November 30, 4:25 p.m. ET at Acrisure Stadium, is less a warm-up and more a measuring stick. Can the Steelers thread veteran-savvy health management and scheme discipline into a victory that keeps them trending toward the postseason? If Rodgers plays and wins, the Steelers' margin for error widens. If he plays and hurts the wrist further, the fallout could be far worse. Steelers.com. For the Bills, Rodgers returning changes preparation. Josh Allen's game is the same regardless of opponent, but when the opposing QB is Rodgers, the Bills must respect the deep ball, the scramble, and the sudden throw elements that alter coverage choices. If Rudolph starts, Buffalo can be more aggressive, dial up disguises, and rush more knowing a backup will be quicker to panic. Those are tactical differences that will shape defensive calls and risk thresholds for both coordinators. Bottom line, Mike Tomlin's great optimism is the headline, but it's also the lead-in to a week of fine print. Watch how Rodgers moves in early drills, whether he takes any live contact in practice, and whether the team officially lists him as active Friday. Those micro decisions will tell you whether this is a managed veteran return or a high-wire gamble. Either way, Sunday's 4:25 p.m. ET kickoff against Buffalo just became one of the more consequential matchups on the slate. Reuters.